fans. Welcome to Caveman's Corner. You're here with your host, Jeff. Captain Caveman! Dens. We're coming to you live from the Fan Duty Studios in Buffalo, New York. And today I have an awesome guest with me. I got Dave Szprygada. I give this offer to everyone I compete against. I was like, if you kick my ass, you can come in here and talk anything you want to say on the podcast. How's it going, Dave?
Pretty good, Jeff. How you doing today?
Good. We just competed. Well, actually, it was a while ago, but we competed at the Buffalo Classic, something Josh Ketchler puts on, and it was an awesome tournament. And you defeated me, so here you are.
Oh, it's a pleasure to get on here. It's actually it's kind of funny. I don't know. I think I might have mentioned to you actually after the match that we used to. A friend of mine, I actually used to try and do a little podcast out of Buffalo before I ended up moving down to New York City for a while, like 2012. Yeah. He was a big boxing guy, and I was obviously doing MMA, and I feel like a multi-combat sport athlete at the time, so it was called The Shape of Punch. Wow. And I always had I had a really good time doing it. I love podcasts. I'd listen to them whenever I'm like cutting the lawn and just when I'm working in the wintertime. So, I listen to you a bunch, especially when someone I know is on, and I'm like, I think that would be pretty fun to do, especially, coming from the other gym, give you guys the different perspective and everything, so.
For sure, maybe Antonio will listen to this one. He said, oh, my guest sucks, so maybe he'll listen to you. I gotta keep shooting him out because he posted about Charlie Angelo, and he thought it was Chuck Angelo in the black belt. He's like, oh, this guy's a fake, and he apologized for it. He said, I didn't mean to go after the guest because the guy was a little upset about it. But that was funny, so now I gotta make fun of Antonio every time.
I got you.
Nothing serious. It's just a shot.
I know. I gotcha.
I do the same thing with Mike. I wish I would put that one out before I had you on. It was funny. So you used to train WNYMA. We'll start out with the heavy stuff, and then you left and you went to Lake Effect. Can you talk about that change and what made you leave?
Sure. I mean, well, I was probably one of the first 5, definitely first 10 guys at WNY before. I mean, I was with those guys since it was 47 Ronin. I can tell you it was at least it was Catillus, Dub, Mike Schultz, Matt Bordenaro. I think Frank Scalzo was involved. I know him and Bordenaro used to be the MMA guys. Paul Moon came over, and Jordan, actually, infamous black belt from Buffalo, New York. Jordan Schultz actually was. He was kind of leading the show. He was like the lead jiu-jitsu instructor before he ended up booting for Alliance Atlanta. So, yeah, I've been with the team, for one of the long runs. And then 2012, I kind of got an offer of a position to take in New York City. And like I said, I used to kind of focus on all the different sports. I used to do kickboxing with Corey, boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, and when I eventually went downstate, I kind of looked at my options of what was there, and I knew one of the best jiu-jitsu schools in the world was there, and I kind of decided to focus my attention at that point. So it brings me back, I think it was maybe 2015, probably about 2 years ago. I came back to the area, same thing, stayed at, came back to WNY. It was cool, it was a lot bigger. It definitely moved downstairs. I was there, it was upstairs, it moved downstairs. I think when I left, Victory was separate. A lot of guys were still affiliated, I think, with Buffalo BJJ. And then they came back over to, WNY. And, I mean, it was, it was like a good time, but I would definitely say the main reason I would left is probably just because Mike Attila has been one of my best friends for years, and I feel like he is a very accomplished black belt, but I mean, a lot of people probably attribute a lot of it to his competition success, but I think just in general, him, along with myself, we would always kind of seek out just extra stuff. Whenever people would be training here, we would be going to Rochester, training with Eric Cady or Kyle Saunders. We'd be going up to Jeff Jocelyn's in Ontario. That's actually how I used to, when I was trying to be serious about it, to try and prepare for my MMA fights, because, like I said, I had sparring partners down here during the week would be Frankie and Matt, which was great, but those guys are both 185, 170, on here.
They're both big 185, 170 guys, too, huge.
I think Bordenaro walks around at 2, or at least he did at a point, so, I was always on my back playing defense, but I would be able to go up there and I would train with 155ers, and it was so different just because it was tiring because they were fast and you couldn't hold them down. Even if I was on my back, I wouldn't be getting tired. But going there, just when you're training with actual 55ers, 45ers, it's exhausting because it's such a fast game.
It's a different pace. I know exactly what you're saying. The same problem. I'm a smaller guy too. These big guys they're strong and they hold you down, but you don't expend as much energy as you do playing the game because you're really not moving at a speed where you're getting tired. Most of the time you're getting smashed. It's just a different feeling. I feel there's a big difference on the feet as well, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think that would be a frustrating thing for them too, because I started actually as a boxer. My whole combat sports thing, probably 13 years ago, I started boxing, and that was I wasn't a ground fighter. I mean, now most people probably know me because I'm a coach as a brown belt, but I mean, I came into it as a boxer down at. It's actually, they destroyed it now because they found it had black mold in it, so I breathed a lot of that in. But it was South Buffalo Boxing Club on Seneca Street. And I trained there until they got shut down by the health department. And then I went over to Lackawanna Boxing, which actually wasn't too far. And but even there, it wasn't great as far as if you were trying to make a pro career out of it, but just as far as telling stories, because it was run by older guys. But they Roy Brash and what was it, Tommy Basillo, I believe. But they would just smoke cigarettes and listen to Oldies 104 while you were in the bag. But the memories are good. But like I said, as far as contributing towards a pro career, it probably wasn't the best.
I've heard some stories. I've never been there and trained with them guys, but I heard a lot of stories about them from a lot of guys that train that path. Never liked boxing myself. I was always a kickboxer. I love Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. And, it's just different ranges, but there's some awesome stories. People don't understand what guys like us went through the days coming up.
The first time I think I heard one of the local guys talk was when Matt Godden was interviewed on Open Mat Radio by Paul, who's from the Buffalo area. And it was good to hear that story because you can really relate to it. No black belts. People have to travel. Even what was it? Chuck was he was probably the first black belt in the area, and he would go to Chicago. Right. However that happened, and
well, he wasn't a black belt for a long time. When I first started training him, he was a brown belt, and he started teaching as a purple. Mm-hmm. And he was the most advanced guy. I just think that's a purple belt. That's the highest advanced guy in the city, and people are seeking him out.
Well, when I started training with Jordan and Dub, Jordan was purple, and Dub was a blue belt, and when Jordan moved, Dub, he ran the program as a blue belt. I mean, can you think of that today? I mean, as a coach, having so many blue belts under me, it seems funny, but when that's all you had, that's what you had. So it's pretty impressive to see the difference now of what people have in the area as far as to learn. But like you said, it was a fun ride. It's fun stories, but probably not the best as far as if we're gonna make a world class athlete out of here, or a world champion.
I got a question for you that I ask all the jiu-jitsu guys that have on the show. Do you think we have a different expectations of a blue belt than most normal people do from the way we came up? I remember when I first started, a blue belt was a god. We used to drive hours to train with a blue belt back in the day. I remember that, Oh,
no, absolutely, and that's even we fought just recently, and that was the brown belt, black belt division, and I've seen a lot of guys. I think Ketchery just posted something there's 12 black belts in Buffalo now, the original Dirty Dozen. Right. And I feel kind of weird about it, and like not to take any credit away, because I'm sure everybody there has been training 10 years, been training hard, but like I said, going downstate for a while, and I was training with, Bernardo Faria just won, double gold world champion. Marcelo Garcia, he's known as the, one of the best of all time. And then you got Mateus and Marcos. Marcos just, he lost in the finals, I believe, at black belt middleweight in the Worlds this year, which is, that's a tremendous accomplishment. But I'm Gianni, I'm used to these guys as black belts, and I'm thinking, okay, if you're a black belt, then what am I? I feel fine being a brown belt, but I definitely feel that expectation's different, because even when you mention, a blue belt felt amazing, and now going to see a black belt, I'm just it's like Wayne's World. I'm I'm not worthy, I
know. I remember. I used to when I met Henzo Gracie, went to a Henzo Gracie seminar. I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever. I can't believe a black belt's within an hour drive of me, and now we got 12 of them in the area. But I remember when I first started, what I thought a blue belt was, and now like there's blue belts all over the place. I don't even know some of the blue belts at my own school, and this is such a different thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I completely agree. It's definitely, it's numbers too, though. People that are interested in training, back, like you said, you might have had like 8 to 10 guys, and now it just fills up. Even, I think, Lake Effect, we've been open a year, and we have over 50, 60 adult members already, and like, that just seems, I mean, it's awesome, but it's also like, it starts to become a lot of work, and you're like, just to memorize that and everything. But I definitely understand what you're saying. Like these lofty goals seem like high standards, and then some people come in, you just walk in, and there's 3 black belts there. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be a black belt someday. Whereas us, it was just like I don't know how you would describe it. It's like being elected president or something.
I know some guys of our generation think guys are becoming blue belt too quick, and like we don't have high enough standards. But I think the level of training is so different now too. We didn't have access to black belts, brown belts, pro belts. There was nobody around when I trained. Most of the guys that could beat me up were from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's probably very true. And another thing with the access of information. I mean, it used to be so well protected. You couldn't get these techniques unless you paid for a seminar, or unless you bought this 10-disc series, and even then maybe some of the Gracies are withholding information that only they knew they knew the answers to. Today you got all the online marketing, you got like you said, coaches. I think you could take a blue belt from today and transport him back then to and have him go against a brown belt, and they're probably going to know, because the blue belt might bear ball in the brown belt and be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, just the level of technique is so much higher today, I think. But some of that's just because of the way the competition is too. What do you think about IBJJF, the rule set?
Well, whether you like it or not, you have to adapt to it. I think, if you want to be, a serious jiu-jitsu competitor, that is like the sanctioning body, and even a lot of the other places adapt to it. I guess it makes more sense to me now as I've been around, but you definitely you have to kind of figure out, how the rule set works and adjust to it when you start learning advantages. I remember actually I fought in the Pans a couple of years ago, and I was going against our jiu-jitsu coach. He's their kid's coach. He's a brown belt. Gustavo is his name, and I was actually up by a penalty point until about 30 seconds left, and then he just was going, he threw a low percentage triangle, low percentage armbar, none of them were anything, and he finally went for a wrist lock, and I had the Mendez brothers coaching against me, and I think I had Bernardo coaching for me, so it was a pretty cool moment. But he got an advantage point for the wrist lock, and he went on to win the whole tournament, and I was done. So something like that, you'd probably be a little upset. I was trying to play the pass game, he was trying to play the guard game. But I guess that's the main thing I took away from that is you be aware of your advantages, be aware of this, and I think he just knew how to play the points better that day. I that was some of the best I fought. I was really really well trained for, but I guess it's a little discouraging when you lose on something small, like an advantage point or going out of bounds. Just there's probably better ways around it, but as far as now, I get it's been built to be, I guess, the most simulating of, however you want to say it, like a fight without injuries. But then you go into the highest end, and you could have 8-year-olds heel hooking each other. So I don't necessarily have the right answer, but I think like we were talking before this, I prefer longer matches and probably sub only. I know when I was still at WNY, we all did a bunch of super fights up in Canada, and they're 10-minute black belt rules, and I like that because it actually took me 9.5 minutes to finally get a submission, but it takes you that time, whereas if you fight masters, it's a 6-minute match, and to submit someone in 6 minutes sometimes is tough. Like a guy's a strong wrestler, maybe that's your first draw, and he's able to out-wrestle you for 6 minutes, but then he gasses. Meanwhile, your jiu-jitsu could carry you all the way to the finals, so it's tough. So I would like to see matches go maybe a little longer, especially in the brown belt division, but I probably need to speed up the matches and stuff like that. But I don't know. What's your preference?
I personally prefer submission only. I think IBJJF is kind of diluting what jiu-jitsu originally was. I think it's a great sport, and to be able to compete, you have to have a rule set, and whatever that rule set is, people are going to adapt that rule set and learn how to play the point system and learn how to play it, and you just have to decide what you want to do. I have a couple problems with the rules. I don't like that you can go from being on top or being on the bottom of side control. You can reverse the guy and be on top in side control, and that's no change of points. It's just a turnover. As opposed to you can get like a cheap sweep where you sweep the guy, you get control for maybe a second or two, and he comes back on top, and that's 2. I think it should be at least 2 for reversal. Like when you go from disadvantaged position to advantaged position. Also, I think the rule set it teaches you to play the advantage game instead of look for submission at times.
I think that's fair. Even some of the guys we have that I train with. Sometimes I might not have always enjoyed the roles, especially as it got close to competition. When like even having someone like Antonio, because once the skill levels get so close, and I feel like we always have really good roles, but that's what it's going to come down to. Like we'll have a match and it'll go. We'll know the final score is like 2-2, 4-2, 0-0, and like then you start counting advantages. But it's great to have a training partner like that, because then when I actually go into a tournament, like that's what I have to expect, whether I like it or not. Compared to if you're kind of loosely throwing up submissions, like when I was a white belt, at the first highest, and like that's what you learn. Like here's an armbar, here's a triangle, here's an omoplata, but you didn't really know. How to get there, how to maintain, how to control, like all these the little nuances, and that's what I feel like. That's what we're teaching these guys now, and that's what we have all this experience to go on. And they're learning from our mistakes, the ways we would let a triangle go. Now I've had to find out how to not do that, and I can give it to my students. So it's kind of interesting to me to see how a blue belt's going to respond to that information that I didn't know until I was almost a brown belt.
Right, I agree. I understand what you're saying 100%. I just want to see jiu-jitsu turn into judo, where jiu-jitsu was originally a self-defense sport, and I come from a mixed martial arts background, and I just like to see a little bit more reality in it too. And I feel like schools are becoming more competition-based, and we're getting away a little bit from the self-defense. I went to that Hickson seminar, and he talked about that a lot too. He's really afraid of losing the essence of jiu-jitsu, and it's becoming a sport instead of a martial art. And that's kind of just my thoughts on it. I like the sport itself because it sells jiu-jitsu, and I like all that. I just want to make sure that we don't lose the origins of the art itself.
I think that's fair. That's interesting. Like I said, being down in the city, I was thinking about that the other day with the different schools that are down there. I mean, Henzo's school is obviously down there, and I think he's been mostly known these days for like the down hour, the death squad, with like Gary Tonin and all those guys. And I think they're mostly designed for no-gi, submission only, get to the heel hook and finish, and they have like that very complex leg lock system game, which is really interesting. It's cool, but it's not really made to win worlds or even like even the no-gi tournament, whereas the other schools like Unity and Marcelo's, I think, are more based upon winning world championships for IBJJF. So it's kind of interesting. It's almost like, you have these two major schools down there, but they're almost training for different things. But it's definitely interesting because you do have that subculture branching out, the no-gi, like the 10th Planet stuff, the EBI, Eddie Bravo Invitational.
I like the EBI rules myself.
I've never done it, but I think I would like to try that at some point. I definitely have to, alter my training course, but it seems like fun. And like you said, for someone like yourself and me who's done Muay Thai, who's done kickboxing, who's done jiu-jitsu tournaments, like, you appreciate the art, you appreciate the game. You're not just like a single sport focus. So I think that would be fun. I know they did something like that in Canada recently, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I wanted to get to it, and I never did. I don't really compete much in Canada. I like to try and compete in the States. It's tough to go across the border sometimes. I don't like to do it, especially when you go say you're going to go do a tournament and they pull you over and you're like, what are you going to go do? It's just tough. I don't like that stuff.
I almost found out they love that. Like if you're going up there like to go to a concert, like get in the back, but they're like you're going up for jiu-jitsu tournament, like, oh really, like where, and like they get really excited. I also, when I did take that job, I work in law enforcement now. I find out that's like that's a big thing. Like most people in law enforcement are like really big fans of jiu-jitsu and that, because they learn defensive tactics, and but it's not always the most practical what they're learning these days. And I think another Western New York guy, I think Jay Wadsworth, he's really been a proponent of encouraging getting more of like jiu-jitsu influenced defensive tactics.
There's a couple of those guys actually. We got a couple of black belts. Josh Roth too.
Josh Roth,
but they're from the same kinetic school. And then Joe Indicato as well.
Yeah, Joe's a friend of mine actually. We run into each other while we're on the road sometimes, and we'll always talk about that. We cross train. He actually last Tuesday he brought his guys down to cross train, and like 4 of them were law enforcement. We even at Lake Effect, I do the afternoon classes, and the other guy he's a law enforcement agent too. I can't really say what he does, but we'll just say he's kind of like Agent Mulder from the X-Files.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But it's good, and then that's what I like about those afternoon classes, because a lot of guys like that, they work odd hours, midnights, overnights, afternoons, so not everyone can make it to the 7 o'clock classes, so you get a lot of those kinds of guys at the afternoon class.
And those guys are usually working off hours too, so it's good that they have something they can come do too.
Oh, yeah.
Law enforcement overnight, and you have training during the day.
Overtime, yeah.
Do you think jiu-jitsu should get back to the community a little bit and try and help train these law enforcement officers? Or make a big push to make it, jiu-jitsu guys are all over the world, some got money, and we can really make an effort to try and help train the police in jiu-jitsu. I think it would help with police violence a lot.
I gotta be really careful how I would word anything like this, because I have encountered that, even coming in, is like people would discover, what I did either through background checks or whatever, and they would see my videos on YouTube or, my competition results, and they'd say, oh, I see you're a jiu-jitsu guy or you're an MMA guy, but, this is the streets, and, like, you can't, like, I think they think, you're going to pull guard on a suspect with, like, a knife or something. It's like, no, you obviously know that, I mean, you have to be practical about that. You have to know what you know and don't know, but I think that's the great thing about jiu-jitsu and MMA, is that you learn fast, because any of your, like, dreams of like how someone's going to work, or your fantasies, like they get brought back to earth real quick. You glance at someone that's really good, knows what they're doing, you get your ass kicked, and that's just that's good, because you have to experience reality, and then that's your response as a human being is going to be, well, that sucks, I got my ass kicked. Am I going to start training more? Am I going to start sleeping better? Am I going to start eating right? Am I going to increase the time I put into training to like win next time, and to get better and roll with the better guys? Or am I going to keep living a fantasy and posting selfies every day on Instagram? And that's how I feel like it is. So with law enforcement, what you can and can't do. Like what moves, what holds you can do, and you learn all kinds of things. But I don't think anyone's thinking about going out and throwing a flying triangle. And these black belts, like you mentioned, Josh and Joe and Jay, and myself as a brown belt, we know what we're going to do. Like, you can grab someone in a Kimura and use that to hold them down. You can use knee on belly to keep somebody on the ground, absolutely. And I think, as long as they realize that that's practical. But right now, I think law enforcement's still very Aikido-based, and like Steven Seagal, right. Which, I mean, if you're thinking, knee on belly's not going to work on someone, but you're gonna grab someone by like a gun and flip him around, and he's going to do a somersault on a car window, like, it's, so I'm hoping it changes. I've already, as far as trying to give back, I've made it to I'm probably the number 2 guy for my agency's DT program. So I'm away for 2 months a year, training at the academy, training guys, let them know their first time, and then when they get back, and I have cards now that I've been finally able to coach, and I let them know. I say, hey, if you ever want to come in the afternoon, come when you can. We'll work, and you can learn how to control people better without hopefully having to, your thing. But there's the force continuum too, so I do understand. There's times you're not going to be able to use hand-to-hand combat. Sometimes you're going to have to obviously use your weapon, but for those times you kind of can't, it's like you said, it's a really good grasp of reality, and when not, it's practical.
Yeah, if you guys want, I had Eric Herbert on this podcast before, and went through the whole thing, the whole scale of what acceptable violence is used, the response, how you respond to what the assailant is doing to you, and what's legal, what's allowed. We talked about it for like 15-20 minutes if you go back and look at the Eric Herbert podcast. But the one thing I would like to say about jiu-jitsu is you do get to train 100% against the guy that's resisting you, and that's valuable in itself for police officer training, Because how long you went through the academy, right? Correct.
Oh yeah, 6 months residential.
And while you're going through the academy, how much time did you actually spend training like hand-to-hand combat?
Well, our defensive tactics program it's 10 weeks long, so they give you a decent amount of time for it, but I feel like we've made some significant changes in the program. What's nice is they actually give me a full week to myself. They say, ground fighting week's yours. You do what you want, and I teach them a lot of escapes because, like you said, you got to use that continuum. Chokeholds are illegal. You're not to use any kinds of chokeholds, but is that to say, an assailant's not going to try and use it on you? We've seen it happen just in Grand Island last year. That guy was, there was a deputy, a guy and his girlfriend got out of the car and set him up and were trying to choke him. So,
you know what's funny? I'm related to that person, sort of. That's my daughter's mother's sister's daughter was the girl that was involved in that situation.
Okay.
And then that was her boyfriend.
Wow.
That's nuts, right?
But I try and teach them, like you said, how to defend. And the nice thing is, it's almost like teaching a class. It accumulates till the end of the week, and then they finally get to the point where they can drill, and I'm like, all right, now roll, do what you know, escape, attack, get the guy to submit, and people tell me, it's nice when they come out after class, like, dude, that was my favorite part. That was like, I really enjoyed it. I'm like, keep it up, because like that's a great way to keep in shape. You don't know many guys that train like jiu-jitsu or MMA that are in bad shape. You really probably have to work pretty hard to stay in bad shape if you're training something like that regularly, because just like how many calories it burns and the motions and everything. So, and
being able to stay calm in that pressure situation when it's a hand-to-hand combat, that's what I was really trying to get at. That's the most important thing I think the officers can learn, because if you're in trouble, you want to go home. If it's you the bad guy's going to be the one that gets hurt. So the calmer you can be and the more control you can be, that these officers can be, and the more well-trained they can be, I think the less police violence that we'll have. Like unnecessary police violence, I would say.
100%. I think the most valuable thing you get from training is the just that like you said, that mental composure, where you're able to think and play things out, and still stay calm. 'Cause, that becomes the name of the game. That's why the police academies, do what they do, and the military does what it does as far as like drill camps. When you see all those guys getting yelled at, and like someone off the streets that might see that, they like, oh, why are they being meatheads to those guys, and why are they doing? But it's to get them to see how they're going to react when they're like in that high pressure environment, and like it would force them basically into making a mistake. So eventually, you have to kind of learn how to function while you're in trouble, while you're in a stressful situation. But what better than training to continue that? Because once the academy's done, it's done. And then you got 25 years to go academy. If you're 20 or 30 or however your agency is.
I always think that they should continue to put money for these officers to get trained. I think it would help just save money in the long run, just in lawsuits alone. Because if you have a set established curriculum of what you can do, what you can't do, and you train it, that's what the officers are going to do in that situation.
Yeah, the other thing too, which thankfully they at least send us to firearms, at least twice a year to train and to make sure that your accuracy is proficient and you can be trusted to go out on the streets with that. But a lot of times, refreshers for DT courses, a lot of times those, they don't always have those, or they slack. So how are you going to remember something? And that's, fortunately, not that many officers are going to have to, percentage-wise, are going to have to use their firearms on the job, but I feel like everybody at some point is going to have to grab someone and put handcuffs on somebody. I mean, they might not be the most resistive subject, but still, that's all included. And it seems counterproductive to emphasize so strongly on one and not the other. I feel like that should be. There should be a bigger aspect on refreshers for that.
Yeah, just one last thing about it. It's one thing to say academically, but then when you're out there on the street, if you haven't been training, it's just, me and you, we train, we know the difference between looking at a technique on YouTube and understanding it and being able to proficiently use it against someone that's resisting 100%.
Right. And I mean, you probably heard the expression, which it's not always true, but they usually say jiu-jitsu and whatever is a douchebag filter, because to stick around in something where you get humbled so often, you either become a person that's can understand the humility of what you're doing, or you just leave because you can't handle getting tapped by a guy that weighs 20 pounds less than you over and over and over. So it's nice. And even Joe tells me some of his guys that he tries to get into it struggle with it at first, because you might be used to being, to that, like, where you have to be authoritative and you have to be in charge, and like you come to jiu-jitsu and you're the bottom of the barrel. You're starting from scratch, so it can be tough, but it's good, and that's why I think you don't usually have that many issues with people from jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's exceptions. What was it just recently? I think Dan Swift was in the news.
Yeah,
another famous Western New Yorker.
Did you ever train with him?
I never have, actually.
He's been posting on Facebook. I've been following that kind of that he's been set up, and a cop was a bad person. And after he has all that cop hate stuff, it's so hard to know what the truth is. But I definitely, man, that guy's out there. He's had a lot of problems with law enforcement, and I don't know. He was finally convicted, correct, for the dogfighting? I
think it just happened. I've been very busy just in the course of my personal life, but. So I haven't been online as much as I might be at a different time of year, but I did happen to see the headline at least. I've tried to avoid more of the unsavory characters in that field over the course of the past couple of years. Oh, you know what? Speaking of unsavory characters, have you ever trained with Dan Hawley?
I came through with Dan Hawley, actually. I used to train with him all the time. Did you know that, or did you just... Are you seriously asking?
Oh, no, I was seriously asking, but he was also one of starting jiu-jitsu. Like I said, I did start with Catillus. We started 6 months at a God, I'm trying to think of the actual name of the martial art. It was like with sticks.
At Horizon?
Horizon, yeah. With
Primo and Luciano. I trained there too. Yeah. That's how I met Mike in the first place.
Yeah, Primo was my first coach, and once again, he was the blue belt. And like you said, that's one level up, but it was still more than anybody knew. And believe it or not, Travis actually is at Lake Effect. He was one of the first guys to still train, and I got to give that guy a lot of credit. Because he's been training, for the same 10-year span as us, but he's just never been able to be consistent. And since we started the gym, he's been able to finally be consistent. He finally got his blue belt, but he's
that's awesome.
He's still a bruiser blue belt. But after I left them,
Jose Flores, this guy's blue belt too. Speaking of guys on a white belt forever,
he's solid. He is. I miss training with the brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dan, I left, and me and Catilla started. We went over and we were training with Dzak and Holly.
Yeah, I was training with those guys too. Over the Taekwondo place or whatever in Union Road there.
That was where 47 Round was, which became WNY MMA. But that's how I linked up with those guys actually. But we definitely learned lessons of toughness training with those guys, even though like the technique wasn't always there. And they would do the same thing. They subbed themselves out, and Dzak eventually moved to Vegas and started training with Tompkins, and he was a great prospect for a while. And
I can't believe that he never made something of himself. He was amazing. Must be that life out there.
It's probably tough. But I remember I would just hear stories of Holly, and I think like they said he like locked people in a basement and made them fight or something like that. I guess he was like a pretty bad dude. And I never knew that until. I heard that he like fled the country, and I don't know what the full story was on that.
I know some of that. I was actually involved with some of that. Another good story about Dan Howley is he used to hang out with this guy Christopher McGrath, and they went to a tournament in PA, and he punched the dude in the face. And he's recording all this on YouTube. He punched him in the face and threw him out the door and drove back to Buffalo and left him in PA. Poor Holly.
Oh man.
That was funny. That dude's crazy too. That Christopher McGrath guy, he's out there.
Yeah, Harley, I remember he was on Bodog. He beat one of Fedor's guys, right? Like, dude, that was a big agency.
He had an awesome armbar, man. Armbar from hell. He armbarred everybody.
He had something he would tell, like to drill something like 10,000 times, and you might have laughed, but then I heard he would just like sit in his bedroom overnight, like living with his grandpa, or somebody called Captain MMA.
And if you guys look up Dan Howley on YouTube, you can probably find some of these videos we're talking about. Captain MMA is one of them. The Christopher McGrath videos on there. There's a whole bunch of them. Check them out, guys. Pause this or keep it open and open up another window. Dan Howley, YouTube.
Man, why are all the infamous guys from Western New York?
I don't know. He had good guillotines, too. He was a really tough guy.
Oh, yeah.
I heard he went to a black belt tournament in Nogi, and he won the black belt tournament.
I remember seeing pictures of him with swords.
Yeah.
I think the internet was early, because we're probably going back at least 10 years, right?
Oh, at least.
Man.
In the 90s, we were fighting bare knuckle back then when we first started.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'll edit that out. Yeah. He beat up a girl, too. That's how my wife was friends with a girl he beat up, and that's what started the whole...
That's when he, fled the country, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was tough. He had a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal athlete, though. It was crazy. It's like such a waste of talent at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's up even, like, we went back to the other founder of, 47 Ronin, Jordan. Like, I was just watching that, what was it? Leandro Lowe just lost the world champion. So Nicholas Marigali.
Yeah.
Marigali in 2015 won purple belt. 2016 won brown belt. 2017 beats Leandro Lowe in black belt. Like, that's one of the most impressive things I've seen. I finally got around to watching the match, and I thought that was ridiculous. But if you remember, Jordan Schultz from Buffalo won at purple belt. The very next year, he won at brown belt. That same success never transferred to black belts. He did finally get his black belt under Andre Galvao, but he was another one that was. He seemed like he had a lot of talent, and I think he's become a little bit more controversial over the years. He was, I think, over with like Lloyd Irvin for a while, and even when he went down there, and then he was like involved in some kind of telemarketing scam. But it's interesting stuff, and
I know. He was phenomenal. I used to work with him at Buffalo BJJ when we were there. And, dude, he was a phenomenal driller. He was my favorite training partner, even though they cocked on me because I was a white belt and he was a purple belt. But we got along because we could both drill very hard, and he loved it.
Did you ever see that he did like some kind of an interview with this girl? They were talking. It was like supposed to be like some kind of like sexy interview. He had his shirt off and on the bed, and
no,
it's you gotta. There's another YouTube video you guys can Google after this.
I'm checking that one out for sure.
I don't remember exactly, but like her face just gets really uncomfortable towards him. When I was still in New York, it was cool because he was still like very well known, as far as Marcelo was in Alliance School, and a lot of people had trained with him. His ex-girlfriend was down there at the time, and like everyone's like, "Oh my God, you see that video? You see that video?" I'm like, "Oh my God, that was my first, that's one of my first jiu-jitsu coaches." And we're watching this video, and he's just got it like shirt off, and I forgot, it's like pillow talk or bed talk or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, check it out and see what you think of that.
He left a great job at Moog to go down there and train too. Like he changed his life to do that.
Honestly, I don't even know what he's up to now, but I know he used to work a lot with Kino Cornelius. They used to do a lot of drilling.
Yeah.
Try and make like some really innovative stuff. I really like the Kino Cornelius stuff.
That's amazing. He came from here, and we used to train with that guy. Someday we'll be like that. I hope.
Yeah, like you said, I think someone from jiu-jitsu, we're gonna get one of these kids starting off, and even Pat Mix over at your store.
Oh my God,
he seems like the real deal.
He is a real deal. He's definitely better than Holly for sure. He's the best guy I've ever worked with in MMA.
He seems a little more focused than Holly too.
Yeah, he's way more normal. As normal as you can be. I mean, when you're at that level, you have that drive that makes you just a little bit crazy.
You know who else? Did you remember Billy Quarantillo at all?
Yeah.
He was one of my main training partners, and I was so happy when he was there because he was actually smaller than Frankie and Matt, and we used to have really good rounds. And then same thing, he left to kind of pursue that in Florida, and then he ended up making the Ultimate Fighter, getting some fights, and I pulled for everyone from the area.
Yeah, him and Pat Mix had some great roles. I watched him.
Oh, that's awesome.
He came in and did a seminar before the last King of the Cage, or 2 King of the Cages ago at WNY, and then Pat rolled. And Pat rolled Jimmy Rivera, too, from UFC, and one of the top 10 guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I thought he won 2 of the 3 rolls. He lost the first roll, and I thought he's handled him the second and third roll. I mean, that's a guy who beat Uriah Faber,
Oh, that's very cool. We actually, same thing, even down in New York, we had a lot of MMA guys. Sarah McMahon, who fought, she's belted under Marcelo. She's a purple belt. Zach Markovsky, he fights in one of the lower weight classes, but he's also, I believe he's still purple. He might have went to brown. I've been gone for 2 years now, so I'm not 100% up on that. But he was under there. What agency? The Nick Newell, the one-arm fighter.
Yeah.
I rolled with him actually a bunch on Saturday. I think Bubba might have trained with him too. Bubba actually, when he came to visit me one time. Well, I think he was still dating Shauna at the time.
Yeah.
They were out there, so he came in to train. Get a day, and I think it was maybe one of the same days he was there. But it was always cool. You got to see how your no-gi or jiu-jitsu would stack up. And Damian Maya goes down there to train for all his fights now. And I mean, you can't really argue with that dude's results.
No, for sure. What do you think about the training no-gi versus training gi?
I love no-gi. I mean, I love gi too. Don't get me wrong. But I definitely feel like, especially in this area, there's a preference. It's almost, I wouldn't quite say elitist, but people think, oh, well, why would I waste my time doing a day of that when I can give myself another day of gi training? But I teach Tuesdays, so I teach no-gi afternoon classes, and I really like it, and I feel like the timing, it helps me because I know how quick I have to be with the transition. Say I want to go single leg X, or I want to scoop something, or just to get this sweep. And in gi, I can kind of hold on and play with it and keep a guy trapped in my grips. But in no-gi, if I don't execute it at the right time, it's not going to work. So if I can use that same timing in gi, it's going to work. If I can keep that same speed and same attacking, and it just works your cardio better. You sweat more. You burn more calories. It's tougher. I'm a big advocate for it. When I was downstate, we did half and half. It was if you look at the schedule, I think it's exactly half and half. And I mean, it's good for stuff like ADCC, but I know a lot of guys, are kind of opposed. They only want to work gi because they want to work this and they want to work your grips. But I also feel and even Professor Gatilis is an advocate of this too, is he thinks it preserves you, even though you're moving faster in that, and there's more, slipping. You're not putting that same strain on your fingers and grips, and he just thinks it's good for the longevity, and I guess I would probably agree, but it definitely gives your hands a break from all the gripping and breaking and all that. So it's nice. I like it. I like the speed. I like the pace. You get a lot more submissions. Like I said, a gi match against a guy that's really good, we might finish 2-0. Whereas no gi, a lot of times I'm going with the guys that are good, and we might even submit each other twice just because it just goes so much faster.
It's a more open game too, and your athleticism really shines through.
Mm-hmm. And, which isn't to say I don't love the gi. I mean, gi probably is my first love because that's there. But I mean, I enjoy it, and it's nice to just change things up too. So I'm an advocate for no gi.
What do you think about training to be a champion in MMA and jiu-jitsu at the same time? Do you think you can only do one or the other?
I think it's tough, but I see guys trying to make that path. But even some of my old training partners, another guy who's made himself kind of infamous lately is Dylan Danis. Yeah, Conor McGregor's boy.
Yeah.
God, he was so incredibly talented. When I was down there, I would say the 2 black belts I would roll with that weren't world champions already, Marcos Tinoco and Dylan Danis were the 2 that you could just feel it when you rolled with them. You just felt absolutely helpless, that you could just, how much talent they have. But I feel like Dylan's kind of gone off. I think he might be fighting for Bellator soon, and which is good for name recognition and to do this. But like I said, you have those 2 guys on equal paths. Marcos just went to the finals. He had a guy in a pretty tight knee bar that would have gave him his first black belt world championship, and I think Dylan went out early. But it's tough when you divert your time. But if you're already won, maybe it's easier. Like Hodger, Hodger's
right.
already a world champion, so he doesn't really have to work his ground, so you can kind of do his striking. But then, like I said, I like podcasts. I hear Rogan too, and he says a lot of those guys, they're so good in one aspect of the game, they go to they can excel in Bellator, they can excel in what were the other ones that were always Strike Force and show, but
Elite XC.
But UFC would kind of weed them out because you had to be good at almost everything, and it was really hard to be a specialist in one aspect.
I don't reward striking in UFC too. If you put on a boring fight and you're a ground guy, they get rid of you, so you don't have as many chances to mess up.
Except Maya.
Yeah. But he don't really lose too much.
No, and he got submissions too.
Yeah, I got a good story about Damian Maya. We had Fabio Gurgel in for a seminar the other day. Well, not the other day, it was actually a long time ago now, but I talked to him a little bit. I was actually talking to him about the kids program, but we ended up talking about the difference in training between MMA and gi jiu-jitsu, and he said Damian's not really training the gi at all too much, And the other day, a world-class purple belt took it to him in the gi. Like, he's just been so focused on MMA, jiu-jitsu, and the passing style that he had a hard time with keeping up with a purple belt, a world champion purple belt.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see it, you know? I mean, some people are just freaks. Like, John Jones is probably a freak.
Right.
And Ronda Rousey, you know, for a while, like, she was just probably a freak, but it just transitions better. But that's another thing, too. I feel like in successful people, like, if you're successful in one thing, it's more likely you're going to be successful in another. If you're, you know, a failure in like something, it's more likely you're going to be in another. But I think when you're talking about, like, that world-class level, like, if you want to get IBJJF black belt worlds, or, I mean, even adult worlds in IBJJF, or you want to make it to, like, the UFC, or, like, a major promotion, I think you have to train everything, but you have to really specialize in what you're going to do.
I think so, too.
But MMA is also different, you know, because you need jiu-jitsu for MMA. You don't need MMA for jiu-jitsu, so.
Right. Oh, I agree with that. But it's hard to focus because you need to stay up on everything in jiu-jitsu. You can't. It's hard to work your striking if you're trying to be a jiu-jitsu world champion.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? And it's hard to play in the gi if you're trying to fight. And it just doesn't really translate too well, I don't think. I know a lot of people that are trying to do both right now, and I think you almost have to choose if you want to be a champion in both. If you just want to do both, I mean, more power to you. But if you want to be at the highest level, I think you need to decide what you want to do.
It's fair. Everybody's different, but I mean, it's you know, they're both very tough goals, and you got a lot of people going for them. It's a lot more than used to be. So, you know, making the podium is a pretty nice accomplishment.
Let's get into your New York Times a little bit. We were gonna talk about that. We're already like 46 minutes in. We haven't even talked about New York barely. What was it like training down there at MG's?
Man, you know, it was great. I actually started training with MG. I believe he opened his school in late 2009. And I first went up there as a blue belt with black belt from Rochester. Eric Cady was looking for someone to go up with him for a week. And I was like, yeah, let's go. We actually stayed at the Fighter House with, at the time, Mateus Diniz was there. He was a purple belt. They had Henrique Rizdike, I think is how you pronounce his name. He was an excellent coach, too, but he was one of their coaches. There was like 5 or 6 guys. There was a giant guy called, they called him Batista. And he was excellent, but like we would stay with them, and you know, they'd be going up and just like, you know, screaming, like singing songs in Portuguese like real late. We'd be hanging out like all week and be doing 2-a-days. I was a little younger. What I say, that was 2010 was when we went there, so that was 7 years ago. I was in my, you know, mid-20s, so it was a little easier back then. But then I would make it a point to try and get out there, like you know, twice a year, for like a week at a time, and just, you know, stay with people. I started making friends, and then 2012 I started thinking about it. You know, I started doing pretty good. I was a blue belt. I just got my purple belt from Lucas Dupree, and I was like, you know, that's a good thing. I got a job offer that was, you know, guaranteed to be downstate, and I said, well, if I go downstate, you know, I could train there full time. So that was a big part of my decision. So I went. Like you said, you had so many options. There was so many people training. I was doing 2-a-days a lot. My wife finished school, so she wasn't down there for the first year.
It means lots of time to train.
So yeah, I was probably doing 6 days a week, like, which is nice because right now over here I see like Antonio doing something like that, because, you know, realistically that is what it takes to take a world championship or a Pan Am championship, and it's nice to see him. I really can't. I have a little baby girl coming in a month and a half, so that's kind of my priority right now. But back then, I was able to kind of focus that time on it, you know, do strength training. And the surprising thing is with training that much too is, actually, I just heard this on another podcast. I think it might have been maybe like the Jocko podcast or something. But your body normalizes that, and you get into that. Whereas if you only train twice a day, or like twice a week,
yeah,
you give your body time to rest. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to recover. And like, oh, what are you doing to me when you do it again? So like there, I wasn't that injured. I wasn't injured that often. I wasn't that sore that often. It was like, you know, it was a serious time. And even when my wife moved there, our schedules just lined up such a way. She worked like 3 hours later than me, so I would get out of work. I would shoot down on the train to go train, by the time I'd be getting out of the shower at the gym, she'd be at my Subway stop, and then we'd just go home.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, things worked out really
it's
well.
Kind of like a perfect love story too.
But my dad, he was hospitalized twice while I was down there towards the end, and her dad actually had to retire from his job. He had a pretty nasty fall, and it was just like, we decided we wanted to be a little closer. I had proposed to her actually right after the pants one year. And,
on the podium?
No, unfortunately, I didn't make the podium, so we had to do it like the next day. But it was we kind of decided work was like, hey, there's an opening back in Niagara if you want it. So I said, all right, let's go. So we came back, but it's a lot of different opportunities. Now I'm teaching, but one of the things I'll say, and this is also, I guess, part of the reason. Another thing as far as like leaving WNY was when I was there ever since like 2010. I would be so like, all right, these guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you might be in a tournament, you might be stubborn about something like turn on your side, go to your back, and you're like, you don't know what you're talking, like, you're not on the ground, But over there, if like Marcelo would be like, push off, I'm like, okay, yeah, but there's no way I'm right on this. So, and it would work a lot. Like he would coach a lot of matches, So I would take notes in every class, and like I should have brought my laptop in because I just have like notes and notes and notes about like warm ups and classes and like privates or just whatever I would take, and I felt like I built up all this knowledge, and I said, one day I'll probably come back to Buffalo and I can share this with the guys, and we can make it a better scene over here. And I think I actually went to Mike with that, and I said, Mike, I can only train in the afternoon because of my schedule, but I'd be interested in doing teaching if you would ever have an opening. He's like, well, we just don't have enough guys, and it's like, oh, okay. But then eventually they did open up afternoon classes, and I never got the offer to do that. And I was, like I said, it was still a team. I love the guys we were training with. It was me, Antonio, and Brandon every afternoon. I love rolling with those guys. I miss rolling with Brandon. Brandon
was a beast.
He's one of my favorite guys to roll with because, like I said, some guys are really concentrated on the advantages and everything like that. I felt like with Brandon, it was like we were always going for like the submission for the back, and it was an enjoyable roll.
I like rolls with him and Josh Ketcher. Those are the two guys that are really open and I like to play with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, both of them just play that open style game that I love. I like that. Almost cyborg-esque.
I agree, but like I said, I never got the opportunity, and then I know they were getting some stuff, and I kind of realized like I was never gonna get it. Like I said, being the fact that Mike opened his own gym, I probably always would have been going.
Right.
But it gave me the opportunity to teach, and I really like it. And the thing that's kind of interesting, I was thinking about it the other day, and I feel like I may be better at coaching than I might even be at competing. Like I make the podium. I usually make the final match.
Beat me.
I mean, I work very hard, at it, but I don't know. Coaching's like a whole new world, but I really like it, and I see what people talk about. Like you do get really excited for your students when they remember things and when they escape and when they win at a tournament. And you as a kids coach, I'm sure you feel that.
Yeah, for sure. I like the kids even more. You can directly impact them too. They're clean slates though. They don't even have all the bad habits they develop as an adult.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing too. Coming here working with the upper belts, everybody's already got their habits and their styles. But at least the white belts, and I teach fundamentals too, so it's cool because like you said, I'm one of the ones that's like responsible for molding them, and me and like I said, Jared, the other guy I coach with, we build up like these systems, and they go for like 2 months, and it's nice when you have someone like that's regular. Like we just finished up like back attacks, and it's 2 months of nothing but back attacks, and I'm starting to get into the kids classes too, and like you said, it's really neat. It's probably a little intimidating at first, but it's
a lot of extra work that you don't have to worry about with the adults, but it's so rewarding. It's worth it.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So what time do you teach your kids class at?
5 o'clock, usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they just added Saturday mornings. I think Saturdays is at 10.
All right, awesome. So he's got a kids class, I got a kids class. Make sure kids are training jiu-jitsu somewhere. We teach jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and wrestling. You guys just teach jiu-jitsu for now?
Jiu-jitsu and Joao does judo.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh my God, that guy is having a year, man. Like, when we like I said, we all went down to the New York Open. I took silver. It was my first time out of brown belt, so I guess I'm happy with that. But Joao took double gold in the purple belt in weight and absolute. Then he fought the next day in Nogi, and I think he took double gold again. And then he came to the Buffalo Classic, and he took gold in his division. And I remember he beat Herbert in the division. And he lost to him
in the absolute.
In the absolute. So he took gold and silver. And then the next day he fought like 6.
This is judo, the AMCAM.
Yeah, he did like 6 judo matches, and he took like bronze. I think he only lost 1 match, but just like I said, that guy's just having a year.
I think him and Herbert had 2 best matches of the tournament as well. Oh my God, both those matches were so riveting.
I missed the second one, but yeah, everybody was watching those on the sideline. I remember I ran over to coach him because Professor Katilis was actually fighting at the time, so. I was like, well, Mike seems like have this under control. I'm going to go, help Joao out.
You could see the referees like turning around watching their match. That's how good it was, That's amazing. Either that or Flores and Minhouse was my picks for the best match of the day there.
Oh yeah, those are definitely good matches.
Yeah, Flores Minhouse was really good too. It was very exciting.
Yeah, I like.
I like those last minute comeback from behind victories. What do you think about Minhouse, man? He's crazy, right? He's so good.
He's good, and I'm really proud of him in like just the way he's been developing. Because I don't. It's tough to say, but I feel like he's really starting to like hone his skills, and even that match it shows because like even to be able to kind of control Flores like that for a while, like to get up on points that laid into it because I know how tough Flores is. I struggle with Flores, as a blue belt. When I last trained with him, and but Minhouse is making progress. He asks questions. He's like the last to leave. He helps clean up the mats, but he's really starting to like and then that's where I guess a lot of it comes down to like the IBJJF stuff. Like anybody can try flying triangle and then find themselves on their back, but like to figure out like how to get out of things, how to work control. But yeah, man, he's good. I really like working with him. He we're similar weight classes. We're on the lighter side of the scale, so.
I brought him up for a perfect reason too. Minhouse is a guy that goes to every school, trains everywhere he can. He goes to all the seminars. Every picture of a seminar, you see Minhouse in it. What do you think about guys doing that? Do you think that's the way to learn jiu-jitsu, or do you think you need to be more loyal to your own school?
It's tough to say. I mean, the way I like to look at it from the stance of lake effect is like obviously loyalty is good, but I feel like the rewards are within themselves. Like, if you come to all these classes, I feel like the results are going to speak for themselves because you're going to see this guy and be like, oh, why is he winning? Why is he always winning? And it's like, oh, well, he does this. Like, how come you know that whole system? It's like, well, because I train. I come here because I work, I work with Mike and I work with Dave and, like, I learn their whole system. I don't just come in and just, like, dabble. So it's like, we're here. We're here to work with you. If you want to take it, that's on you. We'll, like, what's the saying, like horse with water, and it's like it's here for the taking whether you take it or not. You try not to get too emotionally invested in it. We definitely have some guys, where like the potential's just like absolutely there, and you definitely want them to come in and train, but it's hard, but like you said, people go to other gyms. I mean, open mats on like a Sunday or something like that, there's really no issue with that. I know what you mean. People try and go, they try and get different bodies, but loyalty's nice. Like to have a place at the end of the day to call your home and like to really pay attention with the instructors, because some guys go to other gyms mostly to get roles, but like I think if you're paying attention to the instruction and not just kind of doing your own thing, and loyalty also, like I said, I teach fundamental classes, and sometimes you're there and you look in the back room and there's like all these blue belts on the mat, like trying to mess around with like inversion worm guard, and I think like in a way I can kind of show them when we roll, I'll keep them in like a very basic fundamental position. Like I'll constantly backstep guard them, and I'll constantly do like knee cut passes, and like they just can't stop it. It's like, well, if you're keeping fundamentals, you would know how to stop this,
right?
But you don't, so I'm gonna keep doing it to you. But like I said, that's completely on you. If you're here, you want to work, what you put in is what you get out, and I'd like to see it, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose that much sleep.
You're so diplomatic, man. I love you. You're supposed to be controversial so people listen.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you about loyalty, but I Actually, Ajahn Chai, my Muay Thai instructor said something great. He said in Thailand they always go. Every school is known for something, and even though the guys from your school, they're all kind of friendly. So they send one guy to the school to learn this kind of technique, another guy to the other school to learn this technique, and you're always loyal to your own school. But they're able to go around and learn these techniques from other schools, and I almost think that's the way we have to learn. I mean, we're so behind in Buffalo, behind the curve, and everyone's got just a little bit different game. I think as long as the person can be loyal to the school and stay with the school and bring that knowledge back to your own school, I think it's good. We can just share the knowledge around the community.
It definitely helps, and you shouldn't be scared to, like, if that information gets out, because it's something I was even thinking about the other day. I showed something in Nogi that, like, only I don't think I've ever shared it before, and something I was starting to do in New York, and I was like, you know what, though, you guys should know this, because I'm just going to have to find the way out around it, and holding stuff back from you is just holding stuff back that I'm eventually going to have to figure out that somebody I'm going to be fighting knows, and, like, that's just lazy. Like, there's really no reason to withhold knowledge or this. It's a different world. It's going to be on the internet anyway.
I was just going to say that. YouTube changed jiu-jitsu forever anyway. Yeah. It's not like the Gracies hiding all the secrets anymore. Do you think it harks back to that, or do you just think it's a business kind of thing where you just want to make sure you don't lose students? Because, I mean, I'm saying it I'm not an owner, so...
Yeah, it's both. I mean, I'm not an owner either. I'm a coach, and I like that role, and I take it very seriously. And like I said, it's one of my best friends that does run our gym. So I definitely would have some kind of investment, but I haven't been there either yet. Where, I mean, someday a day is going to come where someone's going to leave Lake Effect to start their own gym. As long as we're in business a long time, I know it's going to happen. A lot of people have that idea and, like, they want to do what they love. Who doesn't? But the thing you find out is, like, there's a reason so few people can do it. There's a reason only so many people can win the world champions, because so many people can do what it takes. There's only so many people that can, like, start a business because to do what it takes. Like, I'll talk to Mike, you have to run back to the gym. He tells me, like, 10 times unexpectedly to the week to just take care of something as simple as, like, turning off the sauna. Yes, we do have a sauna in the back. Like, someone might leave the sauna on, and he's got to run back to turn it off and turn off the the air conditioning and then clean up before class, and, like, just these little things you don't.
Someone left the lights on. God damn it.
Yeah, it's like these little things that you don't take into account, and you're like, well, but it, like you said, it weeds people out, and, like, there's a reason for that. There's a reason only so many people can win world champions, and there's a reason so many people can train.
I think if a school's good and established, you're gonna want to train there anyways. But it's good to get that experience going around. Did you actually get to do a lot of training with MG? I did.
Maybe not as much as some people. Like, he had a major injury also when I was there. He blew out his ACL one time when he was rolling with Dylan, and he would set off to the side. But I actually had a shoulder injury, actually against somebody you fought before too in the Buffalo Classic. That what was his name? Anderson something.
I know who you're talking about.
Your famous picture on the billboard. Yeah. I was fighting him in the finals one year, actually, and I was way up on points, and I was like, oh yeah, like, I think I was up like 8-0 or something. I'm like, yes, like, New York Open Championship, this is cool. And then he threw me in this, like, reverse triangle shoulder lock, and I saw him do it in the tournament before, and I just didn't know what he was doing, and popped my shoulder out. Same thing, he did the same thing to a guy from 50-50 in the tournament before, and I was out for, like, a couple months. It was like a shoulder subluxation, I guess they call it, where it dislocates, but it's very painful. Oh my God, you, like, that one, you still feel the results, but God, what was what
you talk about how you talk with MG, because he was out and you were out?
So I was out, so, like, yeah, I would still go every class.
That was a Joe Rogan moment if we've ever had one on the show.
So one thing I would notice, like, a lot of guys there would get hurt, because they would train so hard and they would do so many major tournaments, but you would see them sitting on the sideline every class, and I was like, well, that's a good example. I want, I could sit home and, like, do this and mess around, but, like, this is what I love to do anyway, so, like, I'm going to go here, I'm going to take notes, I'm going to watch class, I'm going to watch the guys roll, and that's something, like, I'd like to see my students do, and we do have some students that are doing that, but I feel like that's a very helpful thing to do. And when I was gone for those 2 months, he was still gone. He would, like, kind of teach class. He would have, like, his other instructors demonstrate what he would say, and eventually he was able to get up there, but it was cool because we were able to like kind of sit next to each other and just like chat, and I'd be able to ask him a question about it. He'd be able to answer it. Like, really nice guy, and that's one thing I would say about a lot of world champions I've met and guys. If you want to be that successful in that field, a lot of guys are really not personable because they're so focused on that goal that they don't have time for small talk, and they don't have time to deal with this because they're like, well, look, I only got 10 minutes before I got to start drilling judo, before I got to start drilling this, and you meet some guys and it just feels like very, like the handshake and the smile feels very fake. But like I said, that guy was always very, very cool to me. He was like, I was the very last match of the day. The one year I was purple belt master absolutes, and he came, he was still there coaching at like 7:30 at night. He'd been there since the first match, and because you'd think, like maybe he'd only show up for like the world
black belts, the world, the big black belts too, not even the
right. But they did a part, and he had some other great coaches too. Paul Schreiner down there, the guy with the glasses. He's
I didn't know his name, but I know the guy to talk about.
He is an excellent coach, and I feel like he's really molded. He's like really molded how my game works, and he would usually teach like the class before that, and just a lot of the stuff I use comes from him. And he's very articulate, and he's a good guy. He did a seminar recently in Rochester. I think I had to miss it. It was probably like our baby shower or something like that. But yeah, like I don't know. They had some really good coaches, and
is he as nice as he seems, MG?
He like to me, it's always been. But ever since I left, like there's just a lot of weird stuff going on around there, and I don't fully know, what's going on. But like Dylan and Munchie kind of got kicked out of the gym.
Yeah.
Dylan, like I said, he was excellent talent, but I feel like, Marcel always tried to get him to mature. But Munchie was always like the nicest guy, and so like that really confuses me. And Dominica and them had a parting. The female world champion, she won too. She's actually doing a seminar up at Lake Effect, so check that out in October. But she went over to jiu-jitsu to the People, which is actually who we affiliate with now, and they've been excellent and accommodating as well. But and I actually know a couple guys left and went north to JT Torres just moved back from California. He opened his own school in Westchester, and a few guys went up there. So like I don't know if the school was just getting too big or what's going on, but like there's definitely been some movement over there, and I don't fully know. But since I'm not like around as much, I don't know all the necessarily gossip, but there's definitely been some like
there's some big stuff going on. That's kind of why I asked because sometimes you need to have someone that's behind the scenes to really know if the person's, everyone's going to seem nice when it's their business itself being nice,
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering if he was really as he seems. He seems super personable, super nice. Looks like he's always smiling.
To me, he's always been, but he's got 2 kids now. He's also been through one of the toughest things I believe anyone could be through. He loss of a child. His first son passed away not that long after birthday. He had twins, and like I can only imagine like that's really stressful. And then running a gym, if you ever see the pictures, they've actually had to move promotions to a 2-day affair, and they have to run out of place. Like they can't just do it anymore at the school, I think, because there's just so many people there now. And I can imagine that affects your training. The weird thing too, when I would even come back was when everybody was standing up, like on their feet. I was kind of surprised, I'm like, what are you doing up there? And one of my students actually just got back from Philadelphia, where he's originally from. He was telling me, he's like, yeah, everybody starts down. It was weird. I'm like, when I actually came back, that seemed kind of weird to me. I don't think we do it because, we're lazy on the takedowns. It's just there's not enough room. We would do takedowns there, but sometimes they would have to split the class up to like, all right, everyone that's over 170, you're going now, and there's only still 5 groups out. It was like a big positional because, there just wasn't enough room. I mean, right. In New York, that's always the case. There's never enough room, so.
It's so congested there, and places are so small.
Yep.
Is it really competitive there? I mean, you always see guys coming in, you see all the videos of them competing with MG. Is there, like, a lot of guys coming in from out of town that are always trying to hurt you, or how is it, and they're actually training?
I wouldn't necessarily say that like they're always trying to hurt you, but they're even in the gym. Like I said, I think there was little competitions. Like everybody, I felt like everybody wanted to be on the left side of the mat. That's like like you said, the world champions would be, or like closer to the camera sometimes. And then I remember like they would have to tell like, guys, spread out, use like the whole mat. Why is everyone over here? But like I think they would see like the best guys over there, so everyone's like, well, I want to be affiliated with the best guys, so
Right.
there was definitely some competition, and if you do pretty good against someone, there was probably like frustration. I remember I've swept a couple guys when like maybe they weren't expecting it, and then afterwards the rest of the world's that, but you're still kind of like, yeah, I got it,
Right.
It was cool because you do have so many people come in. You meet so many different people from walks of life, but that was also one of the best things I've actually ever learned there. The submission I use probably the most in tournaments this day, I learned from a guy from Finland because he hit it on me 3 times in a row. I said, what the hell are you doing to me? And then he showed me, and then the next tournament I got 2 submissions, the same one he showed me. I'm like, wow. And then, same thing at the gym. It's like, because you get so many people just coming in, they want to do that, and it's like being a port city or something like in the old world, where all the news and information is coming through you, and like so you just pick up so much, you have to defend so much. So like that was actually one of the really fun parts. I met so many different people, but people come and go. A lot of people that I was really close with have left. Just like I went back. A lot of them are California. One guy's in Australia. Just like Europe, like I don't know. It was definitely neat.
It almost seems like it's unsustainable to train there unless you're really willing to live in a city, because you have such a short window to compete, to be at the highest level, and you got to be at one of the best places, so you'll only be there while you're competing at that level, and then eventually you're going to go back to wherever you can make a living or make the best life for yourself.
Well, that's true. I know actually at the moment Dan Donahue's in town. Did you get a chance to roll with him at all? I know you've been down to Matt's class.
I didn't get the chance to roll with him yet. I was doing MMA training because we had a bunch of people with fights coming up, so I missed the chance to roll with him. Hopefully I get a chance to roll with him.
He's like another example though. He's so good, He left around the same time as me, but like I said, I've been back for probably 2.5, maybe 3 years, even almost 3 years, So he's still been out there doing like the whole full-time thing. He's moved from Atlanta to Cabrinhas, but even for him to be a purple belt, like he's so ridiculous. He's just so ridiculously good.
Last time he came in, he did a seminar for us too, and it was just a few months, maybe it was more than 6 months ago, 7 months ago. I rolled him. He's like, that was nice. He's so good.
Exactly, but like you said, that's the training out there, and I think he might even been suspicious of like some people that train at that level that cheat, and I know he doesn't himself, and I never, by cheat I mean doing steroids,
right?
But that's something I've never been willing to do myself. But I definitely, like I said, I left my early 30s. I'm 33 now, so your body really starts to notice those things you didn't expect. When I was training down with like Holly and those guys, I remember I would wake up. I would work 8 hours a day, lifting heavy sheets of drywall all day, hanging them over my head, like 8 hours of hard physical labor. I would go right to, at that time I went to Olympia Boxing Club with Jimmy Ralston, train there for 2 hours, go right there to that martial arts studio and where like Holly and Dizek were, and like Josh Ox was there for a while. And
Ox, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
I would train with those dudes, and then I would come home, and then I would like mess around on my guitar and like do it all over the next day. I would probably was like 23 or something like that, but like to even think about doing something like that now is just like I just know it's not possible.
I've been running since 5 a.m. yesterday. I haven't even slept yet. I feel like that. I gotta go train right after this.
Ugh.
I'm gonna go train with some killer guys too, Herbert and stuff. We're getting him ready for the fight.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be rough training. Them guys are big and smash me up a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely a good dude, but that's
I need some steroids to get through this. Jesus Christ.
That's definitely gonna. All these guys are going to Worlds, Originally, like maybe last year, I think I saw that it was on my birthday. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. Worlds is a brown belt, and then my wife gives us the great news that we're expecting. But it's I'm thrilled. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's 2 weeks before Worlds, so obviously I'm not going.
Yeah.
But I'm still gonna have to help those guys get ready, so I'm still gonna get my ass kicked. And like as they're getting better and better.
That's the price as a coach, man. We gotta give out our body sometimes for them guys. Hopefully they appreciate it.
I know it. You're definitely right there.
And they don't realize like we got lives and we're still doing work and we still have to come in and train like they're training too at their level. That's one of the hardest things as a coach.
I'm about to find out what all you parents are. You know, like all our coaches, Mike, Jared, Pedro, Joao, all. You know, they all got young kids at home. I know you got
I have two. Yeah.
You have a couple, and so that's one thing. I always had that luxury of never having to worry about that. So I've been able to put that extra time into training, but those days are gone. So
yeah, there goes your sleep schedule too, man. That's the recovery time.
Yeah. Well, you know, hopefully I'll be back for next year. I'd like to hit up Worlds one more time as a brown belt before I
go black.
Whenever that's going to be.
I just want to jump back into the steroid issue real quick. I asked this question to all MMA guys. How prevalent do you think steroids are in high level jiu-jitsu?
You know, it's hard to tell. When I was down there, I never knew much about it. I don't think Marcelo ever would have done anything like that. I don't feel like that would have been for any of his guys either. But it's really hard to tell because, like I said, you get those personality types, and I definitely know for a fact like certain guys do it. You hear the rumors.
Mm-hmm.
I've never like actually seen someone do it or buy them, but like
you can see the body type sometimes. Man.
Oh yeah, I've heard
Jesus
people
Christ.
admit to it, and just like you said, what you need to train. Like what I say, I was down there, like 2.5 years doing like 2-a-days. And you got accustomed to it, but it was still like, by the end of the week, you were fading. And compared to some guys that could just do it over and over, like, I almost feel like you got to be doing something else, So when you go over, I think if you're not doing it, you gotta train your body to do it differently. I think that's even something Dan mentioned was, he's still training as much as he was, but maybe he's gone over to like drilling more, or doing like lighter stuff and more with body mechanics and that. But I can tell you it's still working because he still does really good. When he still puts a beating down whenever everybody rolls. So
I started seeing a physical therapist, and he does remedial stuff with me just to help me keep my body in shape. I mean, I've had to do that now that I'm older, just to keep myself maintained a little bit.
Yeah, I know Matt over with you guys has been doing that yoga for BJJ, and actually even like you mentioned, even Marcella brought in this girl Whitney Tucker. She does like a Pilates yoga class twice a week now that he offers free to his students, which is kind of cool. When I was back visiting the one day, I ended up like taking a part of that, and actually I think we're Jiu-Jitsu the people now, they do that too. I saw that down in New York, like where they're doing like movement classes, mobility classes, because that's the other thing too. All these guys that started, you figure it's only been in the States for so long, it's only been like the East Coast for so long, so now we're all starting to hit that unknown level of like, well, we're all hitting our 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, where you've been training hard for 10 years, so like we're kind of starting to see like the long-term effects on our bodies and what we need to do to like get around that, because I feel like the same way as you, like I think it's going to be hard. I can't imagine a life really without training, at least in some respects, like because it just seems like such a big part of your day, like stress relief or anything, it's
I'm in the gym almost 7 days a week now. Actually, I am in the gym 7 days a week now. Can't imagine not training.
I know it's it would be very tough. So if you know what I mean, you gotta really put that into perspective, I think, and at some point when your body starts telling you like to at least make adjustments. You got to make adjustments.
We went to Diamond Fight last night. It was all girls MMA card, and I went down with one of your old friends, Keith Ferrant. I know you competed against him in MMA, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. Guys are gonna have to play checkers soon for the championship.
Triple threat.
Yeah. Anyways, my wife just said that on the trip down. She's like, if either one of you guys ever said you were gonna give up training, she's like, I'd call the police or send you to the psych ward or something, just because we spend so much time doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't know. I even like doing the early classes, like you train, then you get out, and like I just feel like I feel good the rest of the day, like the rest of the day, like something else could happen. It's like, well, yeah, but I still got training, and I still had a good round in, and so it's
I wish I could just give up my regular job so I could train more. Then I'd be perfect. I had recovery time.
Exactly. You take naps.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be nice.
For sure. I heard you had some locker room stories. Were you just joking about that, or are you gonna let them fly?
Oh man, I don't.
You turned red. I put you on the spot.
Oh, I remember. I think I know what you're talking about now. Like, yeah, oh boy, at the gym down in New York, like you got a lot of people taking classes. Like I said, those gyms grow more and more, and there's 4 showers, which is still nice, but they're all in that same area. But I just remember, you'd have some awkward moments, like while waiting in line, and like everyone's waiting for the shower, and you occasionally hear like some big booming voices coming in. It's like, "Daddy's home," like big Brazilian accents, and it's a fun time. You know what? I'm not going to divulge too much about that, but if you guys ever make it down there,
here on Caveman's Corner, we name names and we tell stories.
But just a lot of awkward waiting in line.
He wanted me to have sound effects ready to go, and that's all he gave me. I'm sorry, guys. I try my best.
Yeah.
Are you going to do Tap Out for Cancer?
That one's good. That one might be tough. I want to do the Buffalo Open. I'm definitely going to be down at the, Tap Out Cancer for coaching, but just my work schedule is like really crazy right now. So sometimes I'm only training even like 2 days a week. Like I get a lot of mandated overtime, and like I said, with the baby coming in a month and a half, I still got to get the nursery and all that stuff ready. So I'll definitely be down there. I don't know if I'm going to be competing yet, though. So
have you had to coach the kids and compete yet yourself?
Not yet. Our kids program started a little bit before the Classic, but we didn't. It wasn't far along enough yet, I think, for them to start competing. So maybe even by the Open, we'll get some kids down there. But no, I haven't had that yet.
Yeah, that's an interesting experience.
Yeah, they go early too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, be there. I was there the day we competed. I was there at 9:30, and I was running around coaching the whole day. It's tough.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine. Like you said, with kids, it's probably there's probably a lot more involved. They're not paying attention as much, or
you gotta make sure that they're at the right mat. There's a lot more running around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's difficult. But the thing is, with the kids, you have like these huge emotional highs and lows too. I mean, I don't really get that so much with my own teammates. I'm excited and I'm happy for them when they win, but I'm not like hoping that, because I know what it means to this kid for his self-confidence if he wins, and how it's going to hurt him if he loses, and you're so mentally involved in the match, and then it's like time for you to compete yourself, and you're just exhausted.
Probably with adults, it's a little easier. Like, you get them next time. I don't know if kids like react that much differently, or
some of them take it personally, like because from working with the kid how he's going to react in the tournament almost. You know what I mean? How they handle winning, how they handle losing. Their psyche.
Oh yeah.
Because you get to know them pretty well. I mean, you spend a lot of time. At least I spend a lot of time with most of my kids.
I can see that because you definitely see their personality types. Like like there's like. The older brother that helps like wrangle them off, and then there's the quiet kid that with the confidence, and I can definitely see how that would come into play. But like a lot of this kid stuff's going to be catching up with me both having one and teaching them. But it's like you said, it's been an enjoyable, rewarding experience.
Especially because my son competes too. You know what I mean? So like you watch that, it's so hard to watch.
Oh yeah,
it's difficult. And then wait till your kid's in the program and you can't coach them because you're going against one of your other students, and you're like, that's the hardest moment ever as a coach.
It's like I said, I'd like to listen to podcasts whenever I can, try and just be productive. And a couple people have said things about that. I think Dave Camarillo, actually, he also just did a seminar this weekend. And he does some excellent seminars. I wasn't able to attend it, but he does a podcast as well, and he was talking about his kids and teaching kids, because I think they just had their first, and he said, for him and his brother and for his kids, like martial arts is like brushing your teeth. It's like, it's not an option.
Right.
Like, you have to do it. And like at that Jocko Willock, the black belt out in California, he just wrote a book about like a jiu-jitsu book for kids, so I'm kind of excited, now that I'm having but I kind of feel the same way, like that. I don't feel like I'll ever force them, I would never like force them to want to compete, like if like that's not their thing, but I definitely want them to learn that for confidence, for self-defense, and for assertiveness, because it gives you a voice. Like you could say, like me and you could be small guys, but like we can go strike up a conversation with anyone. If someone doesn't want to talk to us, like you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Like
before I trained, I was scared to like talk in public, really, and now like I do commentating and do the talking in the cage, and
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely get that. I feel like I probably had like some of that reputation, being like a little scrawny guy. Even Mike before martial arts was like, man, if you ever saw a picture of that guy when he was like 18, he was like 100 pounds. I think like they didn't even have a small enough weight division for him to wrestle at when he was in high school, and like it's just it definitely does wonders for people, especially probably kids, and that's why, like I said, I would recommend it, and especially jiu-jitsu in that, because like you said, you get to learn reality from fantasy and like that practicality, and I think that gives you the confidence to know like, okay, I can do this. And like you said, I think it just transcends into everything else, into work. You're like, well, I'm going to be the best at doing this because I know how hard I can work. I know how hard I can take like abuse, I can take a loss, and like you have that confidence where so many people hide behind like never knowing because they never want to find out what they're made of. Whereas you do, even if you lose and find out, you're like, I still did it. I'm still not afraid to do it, and I'm still not afraid to do something else.
I agree. I think it kind of gives you accountability in life too, because you're not afraid to say, "Oh, I made that mistake."
Exactly, and one of the hardest things to do, and this comes from a competition standpoint, is when you have to accept that you have to do more. Like you might do something, and then you develop that, especially from your non-training friends and your family, you develop that reputation of like, oh, he's the fighter, he put so much time in, but you said you're 7 days a week. So if you put 7 days a week into something and fail, and like, isn't your family going to be like, well, why do you do that? Like my grandma actually asked me, like, why didn't you get into golf instead? But you don't want to, have to explain why you put so much time into something and it didn't work out. But, when you look at the long term, I feel like it's become a marathon. Like at white belt, it was a sprint. And that's how I feel like I used to train, at least. Like I was Rocky Balboa. I would go crazy for 2 months and only eat like the best stuff and run and do this and like outwork everyone. But then once it was over, it was like, oh, I can't go through that again. I can't, and then you learn how like you live that lifestyle instead, and instead of becoming like a 2 month span, it becomes your whole life. And I mean,
Where do you think that hits at? Blue belt? Purple belt?
Probably purple belt. And when you, like I said, when you lose and you gotta work, you gotta work more, it's frustrating because you know how much work you already put into it. And sometimes you just need that time and rolling, but like, it's just, when you win, it's great. It's all flowers and congratulations. And when you lose, like people are like, hey man, you'll get them next time. But like, that's not what you want to hear. Especially if you're like a real competitor and like a fiery competitor, like you don't want to hear anything. You just want to get back in the gym and start training.
That's how I was at the class. This was the first time I didn't gold in at least one division that I can think of.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Big jerk. It was my fault. I didn't even know the rules. Maybe I split up a lot of time between MMA, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and coaching. I got to bite down and learn the rules and learn how to play a game for IBJJF.
And I was pretty much like a month before I had been training pretty hard for New York. I got a pretty good training camp in for that with like Antonio and the other guys that went down, Joao and those guys. So I wasn't too far out from training pretty hard and regularly for that. So I was in good shape.
Did you go out of bounds on purpose when you were in the triangle?
No.
Okay, because it kind of felt like you're scooting out to go out of bounds, and I was like, all right, I'll go out of bounds, because you're starting to get my arm across. Like, I was scared for the arm bar. I was like, all right, and I forgot. Well, I didn't forget. I really honestly didn't know that I was going to give up the 2 points going out of bounds, or I would have stayed in and almost, tried to fight for the arm bar, because that 2 points is a huge difference.
I was confused with how that worked, too, because the same thing happened in Antonio's match, and he got DQ'd. And I was like, well, I got 2, and we started standing up, but he got disqualified. So I don't know. I
thought the rule was if you're in imminent danger and you go out of bounds, it's a DQ. And if it's not imminent danger, but you are in a submission, it's 2, and they stand you up.
Maybe that could be it. Like you said, there's so many.
Because we were in that triangle position for a long time.
Yeah, that's something. Like I said, that's something I learned from a match in Boston as a purple belt. I was working my guard real good. I caught a guy in a triangle, had him in it for 3 minutes, and my legs finally just burned out, and he was able to get an easy pass because I had nothing left. And then I had to learn how to pace my triangles and how to hold it. And now, like, that's something I have to share with all my students. And so, like,
I was really hoping you were going to get tired a little bit quicker.
Luckily, I found that out.
Yeah.
If I never had that match in Boston, I never lost, though. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
that armbar was getting really close when we went out of bounds.
that's what I was looking for. After, even I think Brandon came up to me after. He's like, "Yeah, I've seen Jeff in a triangle, and blood started coming out of his tap." And I realized because there was a different guy, I think, in our division too, a Canadian guy. And I was thinking of a different game plan completely before the match. I'm like, I'm having success with X. Maybe I'm gonna play X. And then when I saw it was going against you, I'm like, well, Jeff's a grinder, and he's not going to tap to like a pain behind, so I'm probably going to have to put him to sleep or get his arm or something like that. So like I had to completely change what I was thinking.
I was really hoping I was going to get a chance to roll with Frank.
Oh yeah.
They should just put us all together. That would have been cool.
That's true. You know what? I would have liked that. That next year I'm going to try and I don't know if we're in the division. I mean, you never know who's all going to sign up, but I was thinking, I'm like, I'll sign up this year because I know last year you two, like you and that Anderson guy, were in there. So I'm like, well, there was a division, and if not, I'm like, they'll just move me down anyway. So like, I'll just sign up, for whatever.
Yeah, we both made 54.5 last time or whatever, and I was gonna do it this time, and I didn't see anyone signed up for it, and I was like, why even cut the weight? I just go whatever I weigh.
That's what I did. I think I was like 2 pounds over like the bottom.
Yeah, we were both super light. I think I was 600, and you said you were like 800, something like that.
How come Mike didn't do it? Mike Schultz. He was in he's around our size, right?
He was in it.
But
he's way bigger than us now.
Is he?
Yeah, he was like in 170 something.
Oh. I thought, he might be down. I don't know if he did adult or something. Like, I think I saw on the bracket he was like ultra heavy or something.
Yeah, he was in a big division. He weighs a lot.
But he might have did adult. But I just want to, like you said, at that point, it's here, it's fun. Like, I just want to give, like, let's have some matches.
Right.
Like, now Mike's a good friend of mine. I was in his wedding party. He was one of the few guys I was able to invite to my wedding. So, like, Schultz is a good friend. I don't get to obviously roll with him or train with him as much as I used to, but I really like Schultz. He's a good dude.
Yeah, like I always say, that's the saddest thing about me about the Lake Effect split is the way him and Antonio kind of like split apart. Like those guys were like always together on the mat, always training. I like to see that. Yeah,
like I don't even fully, I don't fully know like what's going on. Like I bet you it's probably something stupid. Like no,
I'd like to get them both in here. So if you guys are listening, let's get in here. Let's work it out.
But I don't know. Like I said, I can't really picture anybody like having like being like willfully mad at one person or the other. Like,
right.
I mean, I can understand why some people like me came by because we exclusively we focus on jiu-jitsu, and if like you're at that point where you're like, well, that's what I want to do, like yeah, it makes sense. Not to say like, I mean, there's a lot of schools with a lot of good guys that, like any one of the real schools with like black belt instructors around here have like good competitors. It's not like there's only one school that has good competitors, but I feel like we have people like that focused in that, like that are really savvy with the rule sets. Mike's he's a referee or whatever you want to call it. Like he's done that, and he's done the pants. Antonio's done the pants. So like you guys that are like really focused in on like these rule sets. So it makes sense to me. Why someone would leave. It's not necessarily a shot on something else, but if you're if like that's what you want to do. Like if you wanted to do MMA and you came by us, like I don't really know if that's your your best bet for MMA. For the ground game, it's definitely going to help you, but like I do think like I said, I think the results are going to stand for themselves, and like when you're focused on that full time, just doing that, I think it's really gonna like show, and I think the longer it goes on, the results are going to be able to kind of like seep in.
Definitely. Do you always fruit seep what you fruit, or how?
Reap what you sow?
Reap what you sow, that's the word I was looking for. Whatever you put in, you get out of it, and there's nothing more true than in jiu-jitsu or MMA.
Oh yeah.
Except unless you're going against a physically superior athlete like Pat Mix. You don't got nothing to say, look at you. You're like, no comment. Alright. Got anything else to plug while you're here?
Let me see. I don't have anything to do with Tap Cancer Out, but that sounds like a very good and worthy cause. So like that's coming up. I think Buffalo Open's coming up in September. Hopefully I'll be able to come up and do that. And because said, we just announced that seminar with Dominica. She's been a good friend of mine since the days we were both down training there.
Do you have an actual date for that?
I want to say it's October 8th, but it's really cool too, I think, because it's the first seminar in Buffalo that's going to be done by a female, and a female world champion. And I think it's really interesting. We have I think it's really cool that we have a really big female jiu-jitsu scene these days, where you always would have the one token girl in class,
right.
And now you have so many people doing. Val does those seminars, and they do very well with the free training. So I'm hoping this is successful, but not even just for the girls. I said, she's a double gold world champion, and I remember she used to be able to take me to school pretty good. So she's got some really neat techniques and stuff like that. Her DVD is really cool, so I'm looking forward to that. So I guess if I'm going to plug anything, I'll plug that.
All right, make sure you check that out. It's open to anybody, right?
Open to everybody. Yep.
Affiliation?
No, come right on in. Come on, just say what's up.
All right, check it out, guys. Make sure you attend.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. It's a pretty good show. I think if you don't like jiu-jitsu, you probably shouldn't have listened to it. But
one question for you.
Okay, go for it.
What are your thoughts on the Mayweather and
McGregor fight? Mayweather is gonna obviously dominate him in boxing. It's kind of stupid. I'm gonna pluck down my $170 or whatever they charge to see the stupid thing, but you can't not watch it. I hope McGregor head kicks him. I really do.
Someone
bust out a little Herbert and just head kicks him in a little boxing match.
I'd like to see the same thing, just something crazy. But I think I heard he loses a huge part of his purse if he uses MMA moves.
Yeah.
Which bummed me out, because that's what I was hoping to watch for, just to see him hit a double leg, get DQ'd, and go gangster, and start throwing up signs to the crowd and stuff. But I think he's a smart man. He's going to make more in one fight to get his ass kicked than he would in 7 MMA fights. Still.
Yeah, I totally respect him trying to do it. I mean, he's going into Mayweather sport to try and do it. He's obviously been training boxing a lot, but you can't make up that much skill difference in your own sport.
The only thing though is Mayweather's so used to fighting guys that with strong orthodox boxing, you'll never beat him at that. But me and McGregor just do some weird Karate Kid shit and
but you can't hit harder than Canal. I mean, Mayweather's fought guys that hit really hard.
Yeah,
and he's gonna be able to take it.
Yeah, he's not gonna lose.
Yeah, there's no way he loses. Even at 40, there's no way he loses. I would like to see them kickbox. I think that would be the perfect meeting of the minds. Even
with small gloves, it'd be a little interesting.
Yeah. The 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
That would be a lot more interesting than the boxing gloves, the 10-ouncers.
Because McGregor's a puncher, and he's a counter puncher. He's a defensive boxer, so it's not gonna work. But I'm sure just doing what you do, you're gonna hear so many questions about that fight.
Yeah.
In the upcoming, everyone's gonna want to know your opinion.
I still not even convinced it's gonna happen until I see the two of them in the ring. I'm not 100% sure it's gonna happen. Could be the biggest sales pitch of all time.
That's on my birthday, so hopefully,
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
August 26th is your birthday?
Yep.
Oh my God, my wife's the 28th. There's so much stuff going on the 26th too.
Yep.
FCP's that day.
That's the Worlds.
The Worlds is the 26th?
26th is Master Worlds, yeah.
Ajahn Chai's coming to Buma that day.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's a busy time.
Yeah. All right, with that, we're gonna get out of here. Thanks for coming in, man. You got anything else? Any more questions? Mike had a whole bunch for me. He tried to throw me under the bus.
I can't think of anything at the moment. Maybe we'll do it again when at some point.
Yeah, we definitely gotta do it again next time. What did you think about Galvo's guy? Did you see that? The illegal knee bar, and Galvo went and talked to the ref.
Oh, yeah.
I meant to ask you that when we were talking, and I forgot till just now. I'm sorry.
I did, and like I said, I definitely think that plays a role. Even when I was a student down, like I said, at MG's, when I was fighting for the finals against this gigantic jack, ultra heavyweight, he looks exactly like that Jocko dude.
Yeah.
And they gave him 2 stalling penalties. One more, I think he would have been DQ'd, or I would have got the points to win, and that was for $500. So that would have been nice, because that was one of those paid tournaments.
Right.
But I think I kind of got the benefit of the doubt there. And when the Mendez brothers were coaching against me, like I said, I got that wrist lock in the pants against the guy who got who won gold. I feel like both Mendez brothers being there had influence on the ref to finally give him an advantage when they were calling for an advantage. So I feel like I do think that was like the guy did try and pull a shady move, and I think they got the call right.
Mhm.
But I do think because it was Galvo that's why they allowed that's why the ref went over
back
to
and
talk to him.
changed.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a heavy influence when you have a world champion in your corner. I think it's tough. It's like the home team advantage. You definitely got to fight against that. So I think they got the call right, but I do feel like that's supposed to be a thing that's not allowed to happen. And
I think that happens in all in this sport. That happens in wrestling a lot too, at the high levels.
oh yeah, there's definitely
I'm sure it happens in judo. I don't know that much about judo, but I can't imagine it doesn't happen there as well.
the refs probably say like, well, this coach is better than I'll ever be at the sport, even though they all got to be like black belts. So
Right.
he's probably more right than me. Like I said, when I was getting coached, so yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure it definitely played a part. It definitely weighed into that decision.
Awesome. All right, well, we're out of here on our jiu-jitsu episode of Caveman's Corner. Oh, that's a bad one. We can't go on that. We'll go on to Ray's music. There we go. Little Mexican.